Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Novelists Unwind. I'm Johnnie Alexander, and we're kicking this year off with an interview with Elizabeth Goddard. I'm so happy to talk to her today. I'm reading the advanced reader copy of her latest novel, Never Let Go. And Elizabeth is saying she's jealous because she doesn't have copies yet. Before we got started, but here it is, and it is wonderful. So we're going to talk about that, but before we start talking about Never Let Go, Elizabeth, welcome. I'm so glad to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
No, we're excited to have you. Some interesting things about Elizabeth. She is a seventh generation Texan, which means your family was in Texas a long
Yeah, public. Yeah, in fact, on both sides. So for a while, I was a DRT, which is a daughter of Republic of Texas, and you have to have this kind of like a pedigree, but you also have to pay dues. And so when my grandmother died, we stopped paying the dues. Oh my goodness.
When did your family on either side, about what time were we talking about that they settled in that area? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
That would be genealogies. That would be genealogy stuff. And I think it's in boxes. I have all the boxes, but I just haven't had time to go through to read all that history.
Yeah. I'm just thinking it must be pretty long a time ago, because I don't remember. I was born in Ohio, and I don't think if they have one of those programs like you talk about, I don't know about it. But my family, my mom's family, settled there like in the 1780s or something like that.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, that's long ago. But I'm thinking your family must have experienced some of those like Wild West moments that we see.
Yeah, I do have a relative that was an Alamo in the Alamo.
Oh, wow.
There's a name for that, and of course I can't remember that now.
That's so fun. But now you live in Michigan, where it's cold.
I do, and it's the weirdest winter. There's not much snow this winter, so it's kind of interesting. There's ice, so lots of ice, and lots of trucks having trouble outside right now. But yeah, we didn't get snow in Texas, hardly at all. I mean, if there was a one flake or two, we'd like, oh, it's snowing. So excited. But now we know what snow is really like, and it covers your vehicle, and you don't live in it. Sorry. Sorry, Michigans.
I know. I'm glad I don't live in Ohio anymore either during the winter. I mean, I love Ohio, but yeah, I lived in Florida like 20-some years. And
is that where you are now?
No, now I'm in Oklahoma. So we're
okay.
to get a little bit of snow on Saturday, so we'll see. But yeah, I freeze here, and it's not that cold really, but to me it's cold.
Yeah, it's supposed to get down to 1 degree or something, I think, Saturday, or -3 or something like that. So you just, hunker down and you eat your soup and you read a good book.
That's right. That's right. If you need a good book to read during these winter cold days, I am very highly going to recommend, again, Never Let Go. It's the first book in Elizabeth's new series, the Uncommon Justice series, being released by Roselle. So this is an advanced reader copy. I got it a few days ago and started reading it. I'm about halfway through, so we're not going to do any spoilers for sure. But it is, wow. I mean, it is an amazing story, and just one, I wish I had nothing else to do so that I could just sit here and finish the book. Such an interesting take with your heroine. She is a forensic genealogist, and as soon as I got to even that part in the very beginning, it was like, wow, what a great idea for a character, because we're writers, we're always looking for great ideas for characters, right? And professions and that kind of thing.
Right.
Oh, I wish I thought of that. That is so cool. So yeah, tell us about why you decided to go this route with this story and get into forensic and what is forensic genealogy? Maybe.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, it's just like you said, it was an idea. I came across an article about a forensic genealogist. I'm like, what is that? Read the story about how she found the family of someone who had deceased. It turned out that they didn't know where she came from, and apparently she had 15 years ago, she left, her family just disappeared, and she became a new person, and then she died, and the people around her didn't know what her background. So a forensic genealogist came in and discovered her family back in New Jersey. I think she had moved across the country And in New Jersey, they were relieved to find out what had finally happened to their daughter. I mean, that's kind of sad. I don't know why she disappeared, but it was interesting. A forensic genealogist is, we know what a genealogist is, right? But add forensic to it, and it's just in legal terms. There's someone who is looking for lost heirs, or, you know, just trying to potentially apply anything that has to do with legal issues or the law to genealogy. And if you're watching the news or reading the paper or anything, now you're seeing more and more of DNA in genealogy databases helping solve cold cases, right?
Wow.
I don't know if you've noticed that, but that's becoming more and more a thing. And it really wasn't something that I had, I mean, even 2 years ago when I came across the article. But anyway, it was something I put in my idea file because I'm like, wow, that is interesting. And I shared it with a couple of other writing friends, and they're like, well, if you're not using that, I'm going to use it.
I know. We're all wanting to sound sorry about forensic.
So I saved it. And then when the opportunity to send a proposal into Revell came up, I'm like, okay, this is where the story's going. So that's how we do it as writers, right? You have to save the idea for the right opportunity.
That's true. That's true. And it is a great book because, I mean, not only is that just such a fascinating thing, of course, you've got this whole mystery about this abducted child who's now 21 years old. So it starts out the book with the abduction of the baby 21 years ago. And then this your heroine trying to find out what's going on with that, what's happened to this woman who's now 21. But the writing, too, is just so rich and so, you know, emotional, and you're just drawn into character. Yeah, I mean, it's so well written, too, besides just the suspense and the romance part. I mean, you just find yourself really rooting for these characters. So I always love that, too. So
I'm glad. It's hard when you're writing a romantic suspense to know. I know for love-inspired suspense, I write for them, and I know in the case of romance and suspense, they both need to be kind of 50-50. But this was kind of a new thing for me, writing for Revell, a novel that's like twice the size of what I normally write, which allowed me to just really explore and use other point of views, and I loved that. But there comes the question, okay, how much romance and how much suspense? And so I just really didn't know what to do, so I just started writing and let the story take over, right? And that's what happens. The characters take over, and they just have their way. And
I love it when that happens.
So it is more of a romance than I thought it would be, you know, but I like it to be both. I like it to be strong romance along with the mystery, so.
Well, you see that emotional depth there, which I think is what's so important. And I know from reading your bio and being on your website that that's important to you too, that you want your readers to be immersed in
emotionally engaged, right?
Yeah, in with the characters, and you do that because I don't know, you just did it very, very well. So, and then you've got this wonderful setting, which you say your husband's family is from there, I believe the Wyoming area of Jackson Hole, and so you've been there several times. But that is an area of the country that is so foreign to me because I've been to Wyoming once, been to Devil's Tower, not Mount Rushmore, but that's it. So this is all just so, you know, like some people think Florida's kind of exotic, and I've lived in Florida a long time, and to me that's exotic, you know.
No, setting is really, it inspires me. It inspires me first. That's, you know, some people it's a character or they get a plot. For me, I go to some place that I love, is beautiful. I'm like, I have to set a story in this place. And it's pretty much like that with all my stories. It's some place that inspires me. And with my corporate America job in my 20s, I traveled extensively all over the place. And then with my family growing up, we traveled, and I've been to that area many times. And then, of course, I had to marry a guy that he was from the region, you know. So we love Wyoming. We love Jackson Hole area and Yellowstone National Park. And I had not set a story there yet, but I wanted to. And we knew also that we have got to take our boys to see the super volcano. And so we worked that out so we could take a vacation to go there. I think it was 2017, while I also went back to do research for the book in Wyoming. So we did that. But before that, when we first got married, we would go to Jackson Hole, go skiing on our anniversary every year. So we just kept going back to there. And he does still have family there, so we would visit them. So I loved the research. I loved being there, and I loved writing the stories. And right now I'm writing my last story set there. So maybe I'll get to come back and revisit. But that's the fun thing about writing, isn't it? You get to go hang out someplace, someplace else, escape.
I mean, you can tell just by just some of the word choices, I guess, and that you just got this, that you're familiar with this place. Like when you talk about, I think it's called lodge poles.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought, I didn't know that's what those were called. But as soon as I read it, I knew exactly what you were talking about.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And say the words again. They're
lodge pole pine. Yeah, they just have, there's they have knobs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I didn't know that. I would have known to call them that. And then they're in the town, and there's this taxidermied moose. And gosh, I can just picture that, because you've seen pictures of that. And I thought,
I'm so glad.
These tiny details that you've added to the story, but just add this whole sense of actually being there.
Right. Yeah. And so the setting actually is a big part of the story. It's character. It's got a place in the story. It's important to my characters. So, well, I'm so glad you enjoyed that.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to finish it. I'm eager to do that. So you wrote for Love Inspired. You've got many books with Love Inspired.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes. Romantic suspense. Actually, I have one. It's hard because I have two books. I have a book out this month. It's Distressing Signal, and I'm promoting Never Let Go. But this is those are just very much action adventure. I mean, you just hit the ground
and just
running, into the suspense, and so that's what I loved. I love writing for them, but I love writing the long novel because again, I get to explore multiple points of view and just really take my time. So that was a lot of fun. So I've written, I think I'm coming up on 25 novels for Love Inspired Suspense, the next novel. And then I have before that Heart Song Presents and romance. So I don't know, I'm in my 30s or something, maybe close to 40 with novels. I'm not sure.
Wow, that's good. And you've won some awards or been a finalist.
The Carol Awards for The Camera Never Lies in 2011 and the Daphne, I can't say it.
Oh, du Maurier, yes.
Yeah. I can't say that. I haven't won. I've just been a finalist. Several of my books in final.
So, I mean, that's pretty good. That's wonderful. And now, is this your first full-length novel then?
Yes.
Okay. So how different was it? I mean, I know you've talked about having more room to play and more points of view and all, but how was the experience different as far as pacing, or did you get bogged down, or did it just sort of all come together?
I was somewhat intimidated by the thought of my word count in the contract's 90,000 to 95,000 words, and what I write for Love Inspired Suspense is 55,000, so that's just almost double. So I was a little bit intimidated, but I think everything is in God's timing, and it was just the right time, and so I think the novel Never Let Go turned out to be over 97,000 words, and I just had so much story. There was so much story there, and so you just start writing, and after so many writing 30-something novels, you have a sense of pace, and so in this case, it really allowed me. It wasn't a matter of a different pace. It was just a matter of expanding and exploring where I needed to do that, instead of just keeping to a certain kind of template, I guess, or a formula. I could just expand or explore, and I'm like, oh, hey, this person needs a point of view or whatever, that kind of thing. So, and you can do that, and I love it because I just send it to my editor, and she can say if she likes it or hates it, and it's so scary because I hope she loves it.
I'm sure they did. I mean, I can't wait. And so there'll be a second book that comes out in the fall, and now in this book, the hero is Austin, and he has two brothers. So I did read that the second book is about his brother Heath. Is the third book about the third brother?
Yes, right. Yeah, and they're all come back to their ranch in Wyoming.
So that's what ties the series together.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And the second one, Heath's brother, and I try to put some of him in that book. I don't know if you've come across him
Yeah,
yet.
I was just say, I just say him.
Yeah, so the readers can like, oh, okay, I'm reading for this guy and I want to read his story next. So I think I love writing series because you can do that, get the readers really loving that character and they want to read their story. So hopefully that works out for the next story. It's Always Look Twice is the name of that story. So yeah, it's interesting. They pick, Never Let Go, Always Look Twice, and I don't know what the third one's going to be called.
That's the fun part. For those of you who may not know, I've written for Rebel too, and they have these meetings where they discuss the names and the titles, and it's always fun to.
Are you surprised when you get your title? I'm like, what? I'm like, I don't know where that came from, but I love it.
They ask for your input, and then you just kind of step back and wait for them to tell you what it's going to be. They do a great job.
I must not be very good at the titles because nobody ever comes back with the titles I offer. So.
Yeah, they've changed mine too, so I think that's pretty typical. I wanted to set to one thing I read on your website, which is just beautiful, and you talked about the reader. You were talking about people who write to you and that telling you how much they just like reading your book to escape, or they're feeling down and they can read in the stories. And you said you understood the need to ride on the winds of imagination. I love that quote. I feel like I want to put it on my
I think I forgot about that.
Words just really spoke to me this morning. The need to ride on the winds of imagination. I love it.
Good, thank you. Well, when you open the website, it says escape. I don't know if you noticed the big words escape, but that I got that theme really from readers telling me that, when I'm depressed, I know I could just pick one of your books up and just takes me away. Does it remind you of Calgon, Take Me Away? That commercial about the bath beads, Calgon bath beads. But I thought, okay, well, that's what, you have to, it takes time as a writer to figure out your voice, and then you figure out who you are. What am I writing? God, what are you creating me into? So I think you have to write quite a few books.
Yes, you do.
And then that comes out. I mean, you might start out with an intention of being something, I don't know, but then eventually it comes out. So,
I think, for me, it's been kind of a back and forth kind of thing too, still trying to really find that niche, I guess, because I've written in like 3 or 4 different genres now, and just kind of all over it, but it's what God's providing for me to write. So
right,
that's,
and they probably all have some sort of theme that is the same. And I know you probably like to include some spiritual nugget, or you just kind of let God lead you on that. And I didn't. When they gave me the title Never Let Go, I wasn't really sure about that title. But one day I'm driving down the road, and a scene from my book came to mind, and I just pictured her holding a rock. I don't want to give anything away. She's holding this rock and talking to God. And I just realized, never let go. It's like that. It's just the Holy Spirit saying, just never let go. I'm never going to let go of you. Never let go of me. And I was like, you knew all along, God. So I'm starting to write this third book, and I'm like, okay, what is the story? What is the story? God, you know the title. Can you just tell me what the story is? So I used to be an outliner and, write synopsis for my books. I have to do that for Love Inspired, but I have found as the more books I write that I'm becoming more of a pantser. So it's a little bit scary, but after so many outlines, and you realize, well, as you get into the story and the characters start taking over, that outline doesn't even
do a lot
matter. So why write it? I don't know.
That's funny that I'm kind of going the other way. Like I started out really as a pantser, really, and because I'm writing these books for English fiction, and they want the outline because they're continuity series books. So they want to know what you're going to do. And now I'm finding, that really is helpful. And I can stray from the outline, and I usually do,
Right.
And that I don't. It's funny though, because it's like, I'm sort of going more that way. That it's helpful now to me to have.
Right. So, well, I think we just do what we have to do for the story, whatever that is. Back and forth. I look at it as a spectrum. Pantser outline, and you just kind of go back and forth, whatever you need to do. So
you've had an amazing career. To have 30 books, and that's that's great. And we didn't even talk about, I mean, was it like a long time before your first book was published, or were you pretty quick out of the gate to get something published right away?
Oh, well, I didn't. I think I had always wanted to be a writer, and then I didn't really try for publication or even look in that till 2001 when I went to ACFW. It was ACRW when I first went.
Oh, wow.
And just going to the conferences. So I went in 2001, and I didn't get my first contract till 2006. So, yeah, it took me a little bit longer. Now people can sometimes get them very quickly, but I don't know how many years they've been writing before that. I mean, I don't know, they could have been writing for 10 years, 5 years, or
in the
but I had
interviews
just
that I've
started.
done, it's typical 5 to 10 years. There have been a couple who have just, they've gotten like their first or second book published, but
Yeah.
in a couple of years. But really, most of authors, it does seem like it's like 5 to 10 years before.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, it was my dream to write trade length, but I think you got to start and you've got to learn, and so I think all of this has really been a learning time for me to learn how to write. So I could write the long novel when that opportunity came. It's all God's timing.
And you did very well at it. So once again, I'm going to show the book, Never Let Go. It releases pretty soon. So about the time I think that we'll have this recording up, it'll be available through Amazon. But you definitely want you want to read this book. It's so good. And then of course the whole series. So I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do have one question I always ask as we're closing. When you're done writing a novel and you've got the end, what do you do to unwind?
I guess that makes sense. Novelists Unwind. Oh my gosh. I don't look at anything that has words in it. I don't even read. No words, no reading. Sleep. I sleep. Sleeping's my favorite. In Elf, when he says, "Somalic's my favorite," that's me. Sleeping's my favorite. So I just relax for like 3 weeks a month, something, and that's for the long novel. Now the little ones, I just keep writing, but the long ones, you're spent when you're done. So
and you're still writing for Love Inspired?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Right. So I write for 2 books at a time, basically.
Wow. Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much. This has been fabulous. I so appreciate it.
Thanks. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Welcome. Thank you. And everybody, we're so glad that you watched the interview, and invite you back next time for Novels and Wine. Bye-bye.